They say in the Bible that you can live to 120. That's the maximum age is 120
Oh,
years.
interesting.
Moses lived to 120.
Right.
People have made a lot of discoveries over the last 10 years. And I think most impressive really is around NAD. It is the central organizing molecule of your body for practically every process that you can think of. And it turns out that as you get older, the levels start to drop. And therein lies the problem. Because it's so important for so many systems, by the time you're 50, it's fallen by about 50%. We added resveratrol, we added hydroxytyrosol. These are natural materials from grapes and olives, and we put them together with the NMN in the same capsule.
How can this help me with inflammation?
Inflammation requires NAD in order to propagate and make damage, okay? A fall in NAD. If you have a lot of NAD around, you can actually reduce the inflammation. It reduces the cytokines, the chemokines, the enzymes that are produced during inflammation that can cause damage. All of these effects to reduce inflammation need NAD.
Hey guys, it's Jordan Younger, your host of the Balanced Blonde Soul on Fire podcast. Here we go deep on all things astrology, awakening, wellness, motherhood, channeling, aliens, and so much more. We have deep conversations, we go to other realms. It's a lot of fun. So stick around, let's dive on in. I cannot wait to connect.
So Dr. Salzman, welcome.
Thank you.
You came all the way from the East Coast just to be on this podcast. I'm
here.
so honored.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
And actually you came all the way from Israel in
Yes.
some capacity,
yeah.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
So you are the Chief Medical Officer of Wonderfeel.
That's
Tell
right.
us, what is Wonderfeel?
Oh, it's a terrific company, a company dedicated to nutraceutical supplements and really all about wellness. And so we've really tried to pioneer novel approaches to help people live better, live longer, live more effectively, reach their potential through the delivery of these supplements that we're creating.
Wow, that's so cool. So have you been involved since the beginning or?
Almost the beginning. Yeah, right as it was founded, I was brought in, and it was a tremendous opportunity for me to take my experience. I'd been working in the medical sector and in the pharmaceutical sector for 40 years.
Wow.
So as a doctor, I was a pediatrician and then pediatric intensive care specialist. I ran the largest ICU in the country for kids.
What?
And then I
Oh my
developed
gosh.
drugs. Then I became a researcher for 30 years and professor, and I built and ran a number of companies and developed drugs, novel chemicals, novel therapeutics in the areas of glaucoma and cardiac disease, cancer, and metabolic disease. And then after that, I've been consulting, and then I came across Wonderfeel. It was just an amazing opportunity, really, to help people.
How did you get connected?
Through a friend. The guy who runs it was a dear friend of mine, and he told me about this new company he was creating, and it just went from there.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So how was that to go from developing drugs in the pharmaceutical industry to these nutraceuticals, which I feel are preventative, they're alternative, you could say they're holistic, which is what I'm super into. So that's kind of a big leap.
Well, I came from a very traditional background in the medical field, and of course, at the bedside, when you're taking care of patients in the intensive care unit or anywhere in the hospital, you're using drugs, you're using pharmaceuticals. And so that's what I knew. And it's a very long and tedious process, very expensive. I spent years just raising the money for it. I had to raise several $100 million to get these drugs through. That's what it costs to get a drug from the beginning right to the end with approval and registration. It's about $100 and $150 million minimum. So, and it takes a long time. It takes about 10 years. And I thought, well, gosh, I'm in a bit of a rush. I'd like to get something really out there to people and help them. And I have nothing against pharmaceuticals. I think it's a wonderful career and a wonderful opportunity, wonderful way to help people. And it leverages you. I mean, at the bedside, you can take care of only so many patients. But with a novel breakthrough drug, you can help thousands, millions. So that was very attractive to me. But it is a long, long process. So when I had the opportunity to get into the nutraceutical space, I jumped at it because you can have an idea and then 6 months later you're in the market with a product that can help people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is preventative, right? Like it's all about longevity. It's all about brain health. It's all about optimization.
It depends what nutraceutical you're talking about.
Okay, let's actually start a little simpler. What is a nutraceutical for everyone listening who might be like, what the heck are you talking about?
Well, a nutraceutical is a natural substance that's found in nature usually, and it is given to people to provide, usually orally, and it's to provide additional support in wellness or in well-being or something like that, but it is not developed like a pharmaceutical. In the case of a pharmaceutical, you have to prove two things. Number one, that it's safe, and you have a lot of rigorous studies to get there, both in animals and then ultimately in man. And secondarily, and most importantly, you have to show that it works. So there's a definitive and very classic way you go through a series of stage trials in humans to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's effective in a particular way, that it solves a problem, that it cures a disease or a condition. Nutraceuticals don't require that. You merely have to show that it's safe, that it's natural, and you don't make a claim. You don't say on the label of the box, for treatment of arthritis. You can't do that. In order to do that, you have to be a pharmaceutical. But because you don't have to do that whole long process, you can get it out there, and then people can try it. You can run clinical studies for sure, nothing wrong with that. But people will be their own judge, and then they can come to their own conclusions. And so it's a rapid way to get something new into the market that can help people.
And what kind of nutraceuticals do you guys make? Because I know that you have NAD, which I'm super into.
That's our flagship.
And
That's our
NMN,
flagship.
which my husband is super into.
Right.
Are there others also?
Well, that's our flagship product. But as it happens, we have, through the leadership of our CEO, we have a very strong research orientation. So we want to do things that are new, that are going to help the public, that really haven't been out there at all. And so we want to pioneer. So we have an active research program. And I can tell you now today that we have 3 new products that'll be coming out in the next 6 months.
Oh, so
they're
this is
related and not related. They're related to longevity to a certain extent, but they're more focused on some of the other connected conditions.
Oh, like what?
Well, we're going to have a product for cognition, which will help with people's mental status. We're working on a product for skin care. So we're talking about beauty, which is connected to longevity, of course, but in aging, but more specifically oriented towards that. We have a product that's going to be dealing with energy and strength power for physical activity. So all of these are connected to health in some way, and we hope that this portfolio of products will allow our customer base to really benefit and enjoy a much fuller range of products than just the first one.
So you started with the NAD.
Well, we have an NAD boosting product, and that's the younger product, and it doesn't actually have NAD, and it has NMN.
Right. Okay.
But we'll get to that today.
And it's called Younger, which is my last name. So I feel like this is like my product.
I'm in the right
kidding.
place.
Like I could be the face of the product.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's like my dad's claim to fame because he's almost 80, and his last name, of course, is Younger, and everyone's like, oh, you must be younger than this guy over here.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you take it?
I do. Yeah, all of the people in the company are pretty enthusiastic about it. Of course, we're working with it, so we know it very well.
Tell us, what does it do for us?
Well, the goal is to have people benefit in terms of their longevity, how long they're going to live, but also while they're living, to live better, and that's called health span. So we want to improve your lifespan, but also, more importantly, your health span. So your vigor, your ability to stay young and active and think better and have better metabolism, less inflammation, all the aspects that make for a healthy, happy person. So it has those 2 connected functions.
And is it for everyone, like every age? Are there any contraindications, like people who shouldn't take it?
Well, we don't recommend it in pregnancy because we haven't done studies to look at that, or for breastfeeding. But other than that, it's a pretty open field. And most people who come to us are usually in their 20s or 30s at least. Of course, we have older people as well, but it's not for kids. I mean, there's no reason to think about that in the pediatric age group. But adults like to start it as early as they can, of course, because when we're talking about aging, it doesn't just wait for you. It's going to start.
I know.
Right?
I feel it. I mean, I'm only 34, not to interrupt you, but like ever since I've had kids, I feel the rapid acceleration of aging.
Yeah, it gets more rapid.
No, I know. It's like, where did my brain go? Where did my memory go?
Yeah.
And it shows on the skin. So
it shows everywhere. The amazing
skincare.
thing when you look, I've been now studying aging for the last several years. I never really thought about it because it's just something that happens. And you kind of accept it. But when you really start to study it in detail, you see that it involves it involves everything. There isn't a tissue and an organ in your body that doesn't go through an aging process.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you kind
That
of wake
makes
up to it at
sense.
certain points when you first need glasses. Suddenly, I guess I'm older. What's happened here? But it catches up with you. Your strength, your endurance, your appearance, your ability to do sports, your ability to think quickly, your ability to sexual activity. I mean, every single thing in your body changes over time.
Yeah.
And it just is something that happens, and our job is to slow that down. I don't think we'll ever arrest aging or make it move backwards, although that would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
But the best we can hope for is to slow it down
Totally.
for long life.
So how does it work? How does it target if every single part in our body is aging? How does it target on the organs?
We thought about aging holistically, and we said, well, what is the central, most critical organizing principle that governs aging? There's a lot of research on aging now. People have made a lot of strides, a lot of discoveries over the last 10 years. And I think from all of that I've learned about, the most impressive story really is around NAD. So this is really like a sacred molecule, and it's like almost in a sanctuary. It is the central organizing molecule of your body for practically every process that you can think of. Yeah. And naturally in aging, it is very influential. And it turns out that as you get older, the levels start to drop. And therein lies the problem, because it's so important for so many systems. By the time you're 50, it's fallen by about 50%.
Oh my God.
Right. So, at Wonderfeel, at our company, I'm the chief medical officer, so I'm charged with working on this product. We took NAD and we said, well, what can we do to elevate the levels, or at least get them back to normal, right? That's our goal. And so there are a number of approaches, and our approach is a supplement approach with a little bit of an interesting twist on it to help sustain good levels. And,
what's the twist?
Well, most of the other companies out there simply give you something to get your NAD level back to normal. You can't give NAD. That doesn't work because you don't really absorb it so well. We'll talk about that. But we have a precursor. So it's the natural precursor in the body. It's called NMN. And
Which stands for, what does it stand for?
It's a very long chemical name.
Okay. We don't want to know.
No, you don't wanna
okay,
know.
not worth it to know.
But NMN is what the body makes right before it becomes NAD. And so we give that as an oral supplement, right? So you're swallowing that, and it's absorbed into your intestine, it gets into your blood, it travels all around, everywhere through your blood, and then it is able to penetrate and enter all your cells. And once inside the cell, it's converted to NAD. So it's a precursor. It's made into NAD. So we don't give NAD itself.
Okay.
We give the
so
precursor.
So the body turns it into NAD.
That's right. Because NAD is so precious. It's so sacred and so central to everything that we do. And there's so much energy required to make it. I mean, it's really a special molecule. So it's only made in cells, and it can't enter the cell and it can't fall out of the cell. Once you make it, it's held like a precious diamond inside the cell. That's why when you swallow NAD, it won't penetrate the cell membrane and get into the cell.
My audience knows this, and I know that they wanted me to ask you this.
Okay.
I had an NAD IV years ago.
Okay.
And I know tons of people like Dave Asprey and others. They do it all the time. So I was in my biohacking era where I was healing from Lyme disease, and I was going to try everything.
Yeah.
And I actually had a very intense reaction. The IV was like 6 hours because it's a very steady drip, it's very slow. Yeah. I was throwing up, which is, I guess, pretty common because of the detox. But then I had this crazy side effect where my jaw started to hurt like terribly for years. For years. And the doctor that I did the drip with said, no, that's actually it's impossible connection. It must be separate.
Right.
But I know my body. Yeah. And I know that the jaw pain started during the IV.
That's interesting.
And of course, I'm a biohacker. I want to try it again. I want to try all forms.
Let me address that. Let me come to it.
Yeah, please do.
Initially, people thought, well, the NAD level is low. Give it. Take it. Should help, right? So they gave it orally. It wasn't absorbed. Then people said, well, okay, fine enough. We'll give it IV. That way we know we can get it into the blood. And in theory, it sounds like a great idea, right? You give it there. It's circulating in your blood system, and it should go to the cells. But the problem is is that it turns out that it doesn't really get into the cells.
Oh.
Yes, and now on the outside of most cells is an enzyme that actually can take NAD and cut it like a scissors, just snip it in half so it's useless.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a useless thing
So
to do.
And even if that doesn't happen, because it's a very charged molecule, it has an electrical charge on it, it can't penetrate through the membrane of the cell, which is very oily. It's like oil and water. You know, they don't go together.
Like the biofilms of the cell, or
Well,
is that
just think
something
of salad
different?
dressing. You know, you have
Okay.
oil and vinegar, right? Right? Salad
Yeah,
dressing.
yeah.
So when you shake oil and vinegar and you allow, they'll separate. The oil will go up and the water will go down. They don't mix. And so the NAD is the water, and the cell membrane is the oil. So so you
I
can't
see.
get something watery to go into a cell unless there's a very special pathway or tunnel, if you will, that recognizes that molecule and whisks it across inside the cell. NMN is like that,
Oh, interesting.
but NAD is not.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that. As I said, once the cell goes to all the trouble to make this precious NAD, it sure doesn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So once it's made inside the cell, it can't penetrate and fall out of the cell. And that's the reason. Conversely, when it's
okay.
outside, it can't go inside. So when these people give the IV approach, right, an IV infusion, it doesn't actually do much. Now, there is a line of thinking. There are some people who a few years ago thought that it might be specially useful for the brain.
Yes.
And the reason for that was that there is a special shuttle, if you will, or receptor for NAD that is in neurons. And so they said, well, there you go. Okay, we'll give it IV. It'll go around. It'll go into the brain, and this neuronal receptor will grab it and pull it right inside. And so that was all the rage, and a lot of people signed up for the NAD IV infusions. But subsequently, they've done some very nice detailed research, and they found that, sadly, the NAD is cleaved, it's cut, it's destroyed by these same neurons.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then it falls apart into like 3 or 4 pieces, and one of those pieces, called NAM, is sucked into the cell and turned into NAD. So you didn't really need to go get the IV. You could have taken oral NMN and you'd be there.
Well, why do you think that I had the detox symptoms and the jaw pain?
I don't know.
Because it's been a mystery for like 6 years.
And it persisted. I really can't say that's
I
very
know.
interesting. It's
I
an
know.
unusual
I thought
reaction.
you might be
No.
the one to be like, oh, this is what happened
think
to the
about
jaw
it, but
pain.
I'm not
And then I
sure.
know a lot of people are taking NAD, intranasal NAD, like a spray.
Well, that would be the same principle
Okay.
because the mucosa of the nose is very porous. And so if you spray things into the nose, sometimes you can get excellent penetration, particularly into the brain. There's a special place in the nose that's actually connected to the brain.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, a lot of people give brain medications through the nose. It's very popular now. But again, it's the same problem. It cannot cross into the cell. So there's really,
I see.
NAD
Okay.
is not where I would. Now, there's some people who believe in it. God bless them. But I just looking
you
at the
think
data.
this is the best way to do it?
Yeah,
to
well, I
take
mean,
it
the
orally?
science doesn't suggest to
Totally.
me that it's a good approach.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is good to take with NAD or NMN? I
That's
take a lot of peptides,
Oh,
like injectable peptides. What do you
Okay.
think of that?
Well, it would depend on what peptide it is and
can
what it's
tell
doing.
you.
What it's, okay.
Okay, I take thymosin alpha. I take BPC 157. I take tesamorelin and ipamorelin.
gosh.
They've helped me so much with
Wow.
energy and
Yeah.
productivity and inflammation and mold and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there's no question that if you take several different products that have complementary properties, not only can they additionally help, but sometimes there's a synergy where having A plus B together actually produces something quite incredible. But it depends on what you're talking about. In our case, what we did is we looked at the story about NAD falling as you get older, and we said, well, is there anything we can add to the NMN in our supplement that would really work together with it in a lovely way to boost the NAD? You know, I think about NAD levels in the body sort of like water in a bathtub. You have a spigot, you turn it on, the water goes into the bathtub. But how fast it fills up and where it ends up filling up kind of depends on the drain. If you have a big hole in the bottom of your bathtub, you're not going to get much water level to come up there, even if the spigot's on full blast. Whereas if you have a tiny drain, you can fill up the bathtub pretty quickly. So it turns out, and this is really interesting and surprising, that there is an enzyme throughout our body that has as its major function to cut and destroy NAD.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Why?
It's complicated, but it's called CD38, and it cuts NAD in order to produce another molecule that's used for signaling during infection control.
Oh, I see.
So we need a little bit of it, small amount. But the problem is that as you age, the levels of CD38 go up and up and up and up and up. You get huge levels by the time you're in your 50s and 60s. So you can have all the NAD in the world, but this enzyme is going to start destroying it. Right?
That seems like the body attacking itself or
it's the drain in the bathtub. So what we did is we said, okay, we can give NMN to boost the level, but at the same time, we better do something about the CD38 that's breaking it down. What's the point of giving a supplement if it's being broken down at the same time? You're not going to get very far. So it turns out that there are a number of natural molecules out there that inhibit or slow down the activity of CD38. And so that's what we did. We added resveratrol, we added hydroxytyrosol. These are natural materials from grapes and from olives. And we put them together with the NMN in the same capsule. And so in that manner, not only are you boosting and increasing the level, turning up the spigot, but you're closing that drain. You're making it smaller.
Wow.
And so therefore the water level goes up, therefore the NAD level is going to be higher. That's our approach.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
The
And
body
so-
is so fascinating with all of these like signals and chemical pathways,
Yes.
and it's a whole world.
Well, I
in
would
and of
urge
itself.
your listeners to think about CD38 because I think that's the real next hot thing in aging.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well,
until-
it goes up, and by the time you're 50 and 60, it's sky high, and it has huge effects. Let's just take women for a minute. Take the ovary. So women go into menopause, in their late 40s, early 50s. Well, it turns out that CD38 the levels of that are rising like crazy in the ovary. And they rise so much that there's no NAD available. And NAD is absolutely required to lift up the covering over the egg and the follicle. So you cannot ovulate if you don't have NAD. It's obligatory. And the CD38 right over those cells is so high in women in their late 40s and early 50s that they don't have NAD even to release the egg.
Oh,
and so they go
wow.
into menopause. If you take an animal that doesn't have CD38, they will continue to ovulate, and they have mice that are having litters at the equivalent age of 90 years
Oh,
of
my
age in a
God.
human. Yeah. So
Wow.
menopause may be, in fact, a consequence of a plunge in plunge in NAD in the ovary. That's what we think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what are some other ways that we can manage that CD38?
Well, people are working a lot on inhibitors. The pharmaceutical industry is obviously pretty excited about it, but they don't have a drug out there yet. So in the meantime, that's what I meant at the beginning. Why wait? There are natural ways to block your CD38.
Wow.
So we give those together in the same capsule, and that's what Younger was all about, to combine those.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a lot of inflammation from Lyme disease and all the co-infections that have come along with that.
Okay.
How can this help me with inflammation?
Well, inflammation requires NAD in order to propagate and make damage, okay? In order a fall in NAD. If you have a lot of NAD around, you can actually reduce the inflammation. It reduces the cytokines that are made, reduces the chemokines, it reduces the enzymes that are produced during inflammation that can cause damage. All of these effects to reduce inflammation need NAD, and especially a cousin of NAD called NADPH, which is made from NAD, and NADPH shuts down the oxidant injury that you have with inflammation. You know, inflammation can damage your body in many ways. It can cause oxidant stress, it can tear apart cells, it can cause cell death. So inflammation it causes swelling. All of these things are involving different mechanisms, but most importantly, oxidant stress. Oxidant stress happens when the body produces a form of oxygen that's very, very damaging. It oxidizes your tissue. And the way you guard against that, the way you counteract that, the way you defend yourself is to have natural antioxidants in your body. And the most important one, which is glutathione, is there to protect you and to remove these oxidants during the inflammation that you have. And glutathione is made by NADPH. So when we have NAD levels that are good when we're young, we can make oodles of GSH, of glutathione. It's all there. And we rapidly and easily dispose of these oxidants. But as we get older and the NAD levels fall, we can't make NADPH. And we see all the consequences of that. The major consequence of NADPH falls would be inability to fight inflammation, an inability to process thyroid hormone, so our hormone levels fall. We can't make thyroid hormone effectively, and we don't respond to it. Our sexual function is completely dependent on NADPH, and that's why Viagra was invented downstream of that. But the NADPH levels falls, the reductions lead to an inability to have erection, orgasm, vaginal lubrication. All of these processes that are dependent on nitric oxide come from NADPH. So everything starts to fall apart in terms of inflammation and bodily function as the NAD levels fall and NADPH is not made. And we can reverse that, we hope, by our product. The idea is that we can engender a big increase in NAD that will then solve all of these problems, produce the NADPH to fight inflammation. And we've seen that. We've had a woman, for example, in Boston who was a tennis player, and she was in her late 40s, I think, and she had arthritis. And so she heard about our product, she started taking it, and she actually was able, after about 2 or 3 months, it doesn't happen in a week, it takes a while for this to work its way through, but she is back on the court now.
Oh, wow. That's
and
amazing.
then in other aspects, we had a lady in Australia, in Sydney, who had, I think it was probably early vascular dementia. She had been a crossword puzzle maven, really good, and her husband, and then she started to fall apart a bit mentally. She was in her early 80s. Her husband contacted us, and we sent out the material to him, and she was back to, I think, 2 crossword puzzles after about a month or two. It took a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
you start to see these
amazing.
changes. You see them. We've had lots of people talk about sexual function who have written to us. A lot of people about just general energy levels. Their ability to go through the day and be alert, to be focused, to feel good about things. And we take all these reports, and we actually published an article recently where we compiled them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can read about it.
Where can we find it?
Well, on our website,
okay.
getwonderfeel.com, and we talk about, we have the paper there, you can read it, and you can see just the different types of responses people have had, and it makes sense. It's a central organizing, it is the key molecule that is governing all of this. So if you can get these levels back to where they should be, okay, you're not going to go back to looking exactly like when you were 20, but it can slow down the aging process.
That's so cool.
That's our goal.
And it takes how long? You kind of got into this, but
I
like a
think
couple
really,
of weeks, a couple of
we've
months.
seen about 6 to 8 weeks before people really start to see the effects.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's different for each person. One person will say, I noticed the effect on my skin. The aging spots went away. I had better hair. It was thicker. My skin was tighter. Other people will talk about their energy level, cognition. We've had a number of people who already have inflammation. They usually are the first ones to say they saw the benefit
Oh,
there.
wow.
We've had a big effect on people with eczema.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting to me.
That's been very noticeable, actually.
How does it work with eczema?
Yeah, it's an inflammatory process again.
Yeah.
So it's reducing the oxidant stress, as I mentioned, through production probably of NADPH. It's reducing the infiltration of cells that cause the changes in the skin. Inflammation is a complex process, and NAD interacts in so many different avenues during the inflammatory process. So it's the perfect molecule to try to restore, to recover its levels.
Wow. So what benefits have you experienced since you started taking it?
I think general energy level. You know, I'm not 20. I used to run up and down mountains, and I was very into sports. And it's hard when you're in your late 60s to do what it's sad in a way.
It is hard. I'm sure.
When I still try, I'm out there skiing. I'm the only one in the ski resort in my late 60s. It's depressing.
Really?
It's very depressing.
Yeah.
But I love it, so I try to do it. And when I started taking the product younger, I definitely saw a general increase in my my physical endurance and power, which was important
Amazing.
for me in skiing. Keep up
That
with my
makes
kids.
sense, of course.
Yeah.
And do you have your kids taking it and your wife? And
My kids don't. They think they're indestructible, and they're in their early 20s.
Oh, okay,
so
okay. I see.
They don't think they need
when
anything.
you're in your early 20s, you just don't think about that kind of stuff. I definitely didn't.
And people should, because the aging process really does start If you look at a baseball player, for example, or soccer player, football player, they start with 18, 19, 20. They're in their prime, 22. By the time they're in their mid-30s, it doesn't sound like it's very old, but they're not a rookie.
Yeah.
And by the time they're 40, there are very few professional athletes who are really at their is still even able to compete at that age.
Right.
So waiting until you're 40 to start thinking about longevity is a big mistake. You should think about it when you're even in your 20s. And,
Totally.
and slow down, and stop the progression then if you can.
Totally. That's the time because you can preserve all of that.
Yes.
That youth that you have.
We're very focused also on beauty because a lot of the changes that are most apparent are changes on your skin and your hair.
Yeah, totally.
You lose your skin tone. It's not as elastic. It doesn't look as young. It starts to sag. You have wrinkles that form because of loss of collagen and elastin. Your hair becomes thinner and coarser. And all of these changes are amenable to changes in NAD because NAD is driving the production of new skin cells. It's driving the production of collagen and elastin in your skin. It is critically important in the hair follicle to produce a lovely strand of hair. So that's why I say it's everywhere. And there is no body system or organ tissue that is divorced from the effect of this fall in NAD.
Totally. So the skin products that you guys are coming up with, the beauty products, is it going to be skincare or is it going to be capsules?
We have a product that will be a capsule that will address skin care more specifically, whereas our younger product addresses it more generally from an aging perspective and the NAD perspective. But the downstream problems of NAD depletion, the problems on collagen, on elastin, on a whole host of other parts of your skin and your hair, those can also be attacked quite in a targeted fashion. So we can give nutritional supplements, nutraceuticals that specifically address those as well. It wouldn't replace the younger product, but it would add to it and complement it.
Cool. So with the longevity science that's out there right now, and you said it's kind of booming, there's a lot of people working on it.
I would definitely.
Do you think people are going to start living longer?
I do. If we look at the animal kingdom, what we see is an incredible variety of longevity. For example, we have bumblebees and mosquitoes that live a few weeks. We have lake sharks that live to be 400 years. That's incredible.
Oh my God, I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah,
but that's fascinating.
tortoise is 150, 180 years. Incredible difference, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? The fundamental basis of longevity is that each animal has evolved in its own ecological niche to provide the optimal success. So for mosquitoes, they make millions of them. We hate them. They make millions of them. They don't last very long, but they make so many of them, it works out for them. Whereas with the lake shark and tortoise, they're very, very, very few. But they live for an incredibly long time. So that's the way they've adapted and they have developed themselves from an evolutionary perspective. If you investigate all these animals, humans included, and say, why? Why does the mosquito last a few weeks? Why does the lake shark last 400 years? What you start to see is that there are big differences in the genetics of these animals. And it turns out that animals that live a long time have an abundant emphasis on enzymes within their nucleus, within their cells, that protect and preserve the DNA, the genetic material. Because every second of the day, there are attacks on our genes from cosmic rays, from oxidants, everywhere. And there are errors that are made, there are mutations, there are problems of degradation, if you will, of our genes. Over time, they accumulate and accumulate and accumulate to the point where the cell can't make it any longer. It just falls apart. We call that aging or cancer or death, but I mean, basically it succumbs. And if you have the investment by the cell in protecting that DNA, you will live longer, but at a cost. The lake shark isn't very active. A mosquito is jumping all around, or a bumblebee.
Totally.
They're incredibly active. They don't put any effort to preserve their DNA. They live a few weeks, it's a good life, and they're gone. Whereas the lake shark, slow and steady, preserves its DNA. It'll live forever almost. So in the case of humans, if we look at our DNA and the damage, what can we do to keep our DNA in good shape? What can we do to keep our genetic material in pristine shape? Well, it turns out there are enzymes in our body, in each cell actually, in the nucleus, called PARP. And this enzyme has as its job to protect and repair all these mistakes so we can live longer. The lake shark has 12 times as much PARP as we do.
Oh, wow.
Well, it lives 400 years. It needs it. So PARP uses something called NAD to work.
It does it?
Yes, and
So
NAD
that's
is
crazy.
absolutely critical.
So this is in all animals then?
In all animals.
Okay.
Fly and lake shark, turtle.
Even a fly?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Yeah. So if your levels of NAD go down, you can't protect your DNA. Mm-hmm. And over time, you will accumulate mistakes upon mistakes upon mistakes, and that's it. And that's called aging, and eventually you die.
Right.
So by keeping your NAD levels at a good level, and your PARP can work and repair your DNA and keep you in great shape, you're going to live longer. How long? I don't know. Right now, they say in the Bible that you can live to 120. That's the maximum age is 120
Oh,
years.
interesting.
Moses lived to 120.
Right. Has
So,
anyone lived longer than 120?
Yeah, one lady. There was a lady in France who lived to 123.
That's
And
unbelievable.
that's really true. I mean, that was
no,
documented.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I know Dave Asprey and all the other
He's told me
biohackers,
to
they
live
want to
to-
live to what, like 180 or
That's
something?
what he's told. That's
yeah.
what David's told me. God bless him. I think he will. But he's
do
got enough
too.
energy to do it.
I know.
But I think realistically, we can see with our product and with others and with increased knowledge of the aging process, because it's obviously more complex than just one molecule. I mean, aging is a very multifaceted, multifactorial event. But I think it is realistic to assume that in the next 10 years, you're going to start to see people move from living, what's the maximum now, 100, 105? I mean, but you're going to start to see people 110, 115.
Oh, wow.
And I think 30 years from now, it won't be uncommon to see people at 140, 150.
That's unreal.
I do, yeah, because there's no absolute cutoff in age. We see that because the mistakes genetically accumulate. I mean, when you get to
totally.
be 100 years old, most people don't live much longer than that. But if we could forestall and slow down this progression of the aging process, it's not surprising to think that you would see longer living people. We can do that in animals. Through interventions already in the lab, we can get insects and even mice to live longer.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't think to extrapolate that, to translate that to humans won't happen in a day, but I do think that you're going to start to see that.
That's good
I'm
news.
hopeful.
I want my parents to live forever.
Okay,
I'll
second
I want
that,
them
so-
to be around for
Sure.
however many more years that
Right.
they're
Yeah.
healthy and comfortable and
Right.
happy.
Yes.
So this is a very spiritual podcast, and I'm curious, what are your spiritual practices? Do you have any spiritual beliefs? Because I feel like that ties into longevity also.
Well, I'm Jewish and I'm religious, and it is an extremely important part of my life because it really underlies the rationale to be. It's not enough just to live and to sit on a couch and to function. You have to have a purpose, and you have to have a meaning that transcends your day-to-day experience. It has to have something that carries you forward in good times and bad times. So there are a lot of bad times in life. And if you don't have something like that, you're going to end up just in a concrete way looking at the material part of your existence. And if you have something that's overarching and above you, it carries you forward and it gives you a purpose. And that's always helped me because in my career, I've always had one central driving thought, which is, what can I do to give something back and to contribute? And I was raised that way. My parents drilled that into me, okay, because they were doctors and my grandfather was a doctor. And I mean, I have this long tradition of a family that was out there to do something for people. And so that kind of a religious or spiritual perspective has given me an overarching direction. And although I've had different parts of my career and doing different things, that's always been something important to me. And it's what led me to work for Wonderfeel. I thought this is a company that really is committed to helping people generally with wellness. And I wanted to use any knowledge I had learned over the years and gained in skills to do that.
I love that. I totally agree. We have to believe in something higher than ourselves or
Yes.
something just bigger than ourselves to have a purpose and have a meaning.
Well, it becomes especially important when you run into challenges. I think when everything's going great, when you're winning every tennis game 6-0, you don't think about these things because there isn't really a moment of pain or suffering or difficulty or challenge or disappointment or rejection. But once you've really been through life and and it's important to have failures, and all of these negative things in life are not really fundamentally negative. They're part of life. It shouldn't be seen separately. But the ability to move forward with them and to transcend them requires something more than just money and status and title and position. You need to have a reason and a rationale that guides you, and that makes you a better person, and it makes you better with other people who you care for. In the Jewish religion, they say that to save a life is to save the entire world. And so as a doctor and as someone who wants to help people, that guided me. I mean, it really inspired me to think that just even helping one person, and I've been able, fortunately, to help a number of kids who were critically ill. I worked in the intensive care unit, and I carry that with me because even if it were only one kid, I've done enough. And
Absolutely.
so it gives you a way of
Well,
thinking.
that kid is someone's entire world, so it really is the world.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's amazing. And on the same kind of spiritual note, do you know your zodiac sign? Are you into astrology?
Oh, I think I'm Leo.
You're a Leo. When's your birthday?
In August.
August.
August 13th.
Oh, yeah. So you're a Leo.
Yeah.
Do you relate to being a Leo?
Not so much.
No?
No, I don't know much about that. I never, my wife knows a lot more about that. But
Yeah. Well, if we looked at your whole chart and kind of dove into your whole chart, I'm
Right.
sure you would resonate.
I would learn more about it.
But you are a Leo. I mean, you're good on the microphone. Leos are very sociable. They're
Okay.
passionate, talkative, fiery.
Yes.
I feel like you're such a Leo.
What can I say? I really don't know much
You're
about
like, I have
that.
no idea.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Yes.
you were a Harvard professor, correct?
Well, it's somewhat complicated. I started off at Yale. There I was doing Shakespeare and biochemistry, and then I went to Harvard Medical School, and I got my degree in medicine. Then I went to Columbia, New York, for my pediatrics. Then I was at the Weizmann Institute in Israel to study parasitology. And then I came back to Harvard for many years, and I did fellowships in infectious disease and pediatric intensive care.
Wow.
I did and neonatology and then immunology. And then my wife said, you need to get a job here. You can't keep studying. So when I was 37, I went to Cincinnati, and I built from the ground up. I founded the intensive care unit program there and built one of the biggest programs in the world there in ICU. And I felt I really needed to develop a drug to help kids who were critically ill. So I created a research division there, and was a professor there at Cincinnati. And I then left that after a number of years to go into private industry because I thought I could do more by starting a biotech company and bringing in the capital to develop drugs. And that's what got me into the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, I see.
So and I published, when I used to publish a lot. I published about 180 papers by now.
Wow.
And I have about 50 patents.
Wow.
I was very focused on research. I really believe that basic research, first of all, I love it from a personal perspective. I'm passionate. But more than that, I think it really offers the chance to make a leap forward, a pioneering leap forward in what we're doing. All of the stuff that we're doing at Wonderfeel is based on science. It's not based on an accident or something that...
Totally.
And that's based on the research. And so that's been my commitment for 50 years now.
That's so amazing. You are the ultimate academic. I mean, you have so much under your belt there. And infectious disease, that's so interesting to me because of everything that I've been through with infectious diseases.
Right.
Lyme.
Yeah, no, I love that work. I love, though, the intensive care for me was the pinnacle of what I thought I could do because it took all these different various problems, infection being the main one, but many others too, and it allowed me to apply my skills in pharmacology and biochemistry, in cardiovascular physiology, and all put that together to help really sick kids.
Amazing. Wow. Well, you've had such an incredible career and helped so many people, and now you're helping people in a whole new way.
Yeah, I hope so.
And maybe you're going to embark on your podcast career one day and then help people in a whole different way.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. So everybody listening, He doesn't have social media. He doesn't have Instagram, Facebook.
Right.
Didn't really know what a podcast much was before he started going on some of the top podcasts out there, like some that we all
I'm definitely
love.
off the grid.
I'm inspired by the fact that you're off the grid. So where can everyone find this amazing product?
Well, getwonderfeel.com is the website, getwonderfeel.com, and it is a website that will tell you about the product, about the people involved in our company, about our new products that are coming out, the papers we publish. It really gives you a sense of community for what we're doing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to start taking it, and I will report back.
All right.
Amazing.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. This was incredible.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.